There's a stat that sounds made up until you check it 3 times. In December 2025, Erling Haaland scored against Fulham and became the fastest player in Premier League history to reach 100 goals, doing it in just 111 appearances. Alan Shearer needed 124. Shearer's record stood for over 30 years. Haaland broke it before turning 26. So here's the real question this video is going to answer. Is Haaland just a freak of size and genetics finishing tap-ins for the best team in England? Or is there something genuinely rare going on here? Let's find out. Part 1. Bryne, not Barcelona. Most superstar strikers get an origin story with a famous academy attached. Haaland's story starts in a small Norwegian town called Bryne, population about 10,000 people. His dad, Erling Haaland, actually played in the Premier League himself for Leeds and Manchester City, of all clubs, before a career-ending injury cut things short. That's a detail people love to bring up, but it's worth being precise about what it actually gave Erling. Not talent, not a head start into elite academies, just an early, unglamorous understanding of what professional football actually demands. He played for Bryne's youth teams, then Molde, under a manager you might recognize, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That's where the goals started piling up in a way that made Norwegian football writers sit up. Nothing viral yet, just numbers that kept climbing. Part 2. The Salzburg Explosion. 2019. Red Bull Salzburg. This is where casual fans first heard the name. Haaland scored a hat-trick in his Champions League debut against Genk at 19 years old. Then he did it again in the group stage. By the time Salzburg's Champions League run ended, he'd scored more goals in the competition than legitimately established stars on far bigger stages. Clubs across Europe went from who to we need him in about 4 months. Part 3. Dortmund, and the numbers get silly. January 2020, Borussia Dortmund. He scored a hat-trick off the bench in his debut in the second half against Augsburg, 19 minutes on the pitch. Over the next 2.5 seasons at Dortmund, Haaland scored 86 goals in 89 games. Not a typo. That's essentially a goal a game in one of the toughest leagues on the planet as a teenager and then a very early 20s striker. By the time Manchester City came calling in 2022, this wasn't a gamble. This was a formality. Part 4. The debut season nobody saw coming. Here's the thing about big transfers. They usually come with an adjustment period. Haaland skipped his. In his very first Premier League season, 2022-23, he broke the single-season scoring record, 36 goals, in a 38-game season, beating a mark that had stood since the days of Alan Shearer and Andy Cole in the old 42-game era. He added the Champions League and the FA Cup to the Premier League title that year, completing the treble with City in his debut campaign. Most players spend a season settling in. Haaland spent it rewriting the record books. Part 5, where he stands right now. Fast forward to the current season, 2025-26. This is the year people are calling his best since that debut campaign. He'd hit his 100th Premier League goal faster than anyone in history. He became the quickest player to 50 Champions League goals, 49 matches. And in the derby against Manchester United in September, he scored twice to help pass the 88-goal mark in his first 100 Premier League appearances, a number that put him ahead of Shearer's long-standing pace. Through 35 league games this season, he's sitting around 27 goals, 8 assists, and an expected goals number that confirms what your eyes already tell you: the finishing isn't luck. It's repeatable. In January 2025, City moved to lock this down long-term, signing him to a new deal that runs through 2034. Not a message of doubt, a statement of certainty. Part 6. What actually makes him different? Now here's where most videos about Haaland get lazy. They stop at "he's big and he's fast." That's true, but it's not the interesting part. The interesting part is what he does before the ball arrives. Haaland's real skill is timing his runs so precisely that by the time he touches the ball, the goal is basically already scored. Defenders describe it less like marking a player and more like trying to predict where lightning is going to strike. There's also a mental side that gets underplayed. Haaland is open about practicing meditation, a habit that seems almost at odds with a guy who celebrates goals like he's just finished a boxing match. But it points to something real: control. Control of his emotions, his routine, his body. For a player his size to stay this durable, this consistent, year after year, discipline off the pitch matters as much as instinct on it. And then there's the personality, the deadpan interviews, the robot celebration. The fact that a Viking movie is being made with him voicing, fittingly, a Viking. He's not chasing a personal brand. The brand just kind of built itself around the numbers. Part 7, so is he the best? Here's the honest answer. Best ever arguments are mostly unwinnable, and this video isn't going to pretend otherwise. But strip away the debate and here's what's not in question. At every single level he's played: Norwegian football, Austrian football, German football, and now the Premier League. Haaland has arrived and immediately broken the scoring pace of that league. Not eventually. Immediately. That's not luck repeating itself 4 times. That's a pattern. And at 25 years old, with a contract running to 2034, this pattern still has a long way to go before anyone can write the final chapter on it. If you want the breakdown of exactly how his movement in the box works, the runs, the timing, the stuff scouts actually study, let me know in the comments, and that's the next video.